Namaste. This lesson on world history marks our beginning of the understanding of what was happening in the world in 1600 and 1700s. That means how European settlers are reaching to North America. That is why we are beginning with the understanding in this part 1 that how there was foundation of American colonies and how colonization took place, because without understanding the foundation, we cannot really appreciate what happened in the 19th and 20th century world. We also would like to see that in the early 1600, when the British is trying to create a new outreach in the west, what was happening in India. At the same time, there was Mughal rule in India. And if you go down south, then there were Deccan Sultanate and independent principalities. So King James I, like the way you have the coming of the East India Company, similarly was the setting up of Virginia Company of London and Plymouth Company. But why the king was trying to have an outreach? Because everybody is not going to follow the conventional and the mainstream. There will be people who are going to give resistance like everywhere. That is why English, the enslaved ones, and one can say African, Dutch, Scottish, and French people, they were asked to go away. If you're not going to follow the Catholic norms, if you're not going to follow, if you're going to question what is happening by monarchy, then definitely you are not fit for the place. That is why once Christopher Columbus, we all know about that, his voyages are there, and that is how Saint Augustine, he is playing a very premium role in founding of Florida, because it was the oldest continuously occupied settlement of European and African American origin in the US. That means when we speak about the modern colonization, then in one way, American colonies are also going to be facing the same thing. But is it the same kind of colonization which we speak about Africa or which we speak about Asia or even rest of the world? No, that was not the case. English is going to establish the first permanent settlement in the New World. We call it New World because in context of the East, that is India, Indonesia, and Middle East, what we speak of right now, the great Persian world, it was New World. So Jamestown in Virginia, you can say they were the first one where the permanent settlements will be there. And we have a list over here. If you read it very fast and carefully, you have Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maryland, Rhode Island, Delaware, North Carolina, and by 1776, very important, America is going to declare its independence. By 1783, a Revolutionary War is ending. We will be discussing these in details in our next sessions. So the chartered companies are there. As I am giving you an example, like the way you had East India Company for the trading with the East. For Russia, you had one company known as Muscovy. For the Levant region, do check out and get back to me by understanding which is the region of Levant, because UPSC has already asked in the prelims Levant region. Similarly, East India Company, I gave you one example. And you have companies for Newfoundland, the Northwest Passage, and the Bermuda. Were all of them successful? No, that is not the case. Most important thing was that King James I giving the charter for the companies on the American coast between the parallels of 34 degree and 41 north and 38 degree and 45 north. Do check out when you are studying geography these parallels. So the name, as I already told, it is because of the fact that you have Virginia and Plymouth, they were the names, and that is why these were the names of the places also. Shareholders in the company, they are going to provide settlers, and capital was also there so that they can control the production and trade. The monopoly is going to be with the crown. So can we say it is the beginning of capitalism, or we are speaking about mercantilism as such as of now also? Mercantilism, The mercantilist theory is not on the same lines as that of capitalism. This is the matter of discussion. We'll speak it later. But English subjects, they were supposed to be. And if they are going to do anything contrary to the English rule, they are not going to be spared. That is why this is an element of joint stock company. That means there is going to be division of losses. There is going to be a kind of success. If it is there, then success is also divided, profit is also divided, similarly losses are also divided. So risk taking ability is being created, like the we speak about the Dutch East Indian Company, or we speak about the East Indian Company. So the wealthy, well-born commercial and military adventurers who were ready to take risks, they were looking for new outlets for investment. But was there any cultural thought behind this? Was there any kind of values behind this? So, in this context, you can compare it with India, which was at the peak in terms of trade, in terms of lifestyle, but not modernity. That is what we have to see. So, the early colonizers, they will not be really successful in the beginning, but the first permanent settlement, as I already said, you can always note it was the Virginia Company. This is a a picture which is showcasing Jamestown village on James River, Virginia, in this time period when India, as I already said, it was having EIC, and even the Portuguese and even Dutch and French will be also be there after some time, which will be actually playing an important role as far as trade is concerned, but it is not on the same lines. So Plymouth colony, the Mayflower, it is also carrying pilgrim separatists. That means again the people who are not ready to comply, the people who are ready to adventure, the people who are ready to go out and they are going to explore, they are going to question. So in order to retain a kind of monopoly, out outlawed people, or the people who are not required, people who are supposed to be subjected to a lot of harshness, they just went away and look forward to a new life in the new world. So what was the role played by France in this context? So France, one of the smartest nations, but it will be at wars in Europe in order to preserve its own territorial integrity. So it will not be able to devote as much time and effort as will be done by Spain and Portugal. That is why the French efforts to colonize the northeast portion of the New World will be not successful. It will be trying to attempt colonies in Florida and Brazil, but these efforts will also be failures. So Spain and Portugal will be only two European nations which will be creating successful colonies in America. So here is a very important showcase of how the voyages were taking place. If you compare it with the modern times also, you will find that the kind of thinking, the kind of exploration, and the kind of zeal which was shown, it is not very different from the modern times. Do look at it from the perspective of the, from the prelims examination perspective, you can always ask certain cite certain name. So colonization and early government is a very, very important phenomenon, because with the beginning of the 17th century, France, Spain, and England, they were contending for the dominion in North America, because American colonies are getting settled down. They are having more power. They are having more, opportunities and aspirations. English is definitely looking for the best because it is the one which is actually providing the leverage from the beginning. So French, as I already told you, by the foreign wars, by the internal religious quarrels, it will not be successful. Spaniards, they will be busy with South America, Caribbeans, Gulf of Mexico. That is why it will be the role played by Sir Humphrey Gilbert and Sir Walter Raleigh. They will be playing very important role and creating settlements from Maine to Georgia. There will be steady flow of people and capital, and small colonies will also be created. Sweden will also be making some efforts. Same will be the Dutch also, but then it will be the important role played by Englishmen, which is going to create new colonies. So please have a look at this map, which is going to help us, if you observe it very carefully, that the colonization of America was going to transform the whole modern world. That is what we can say. For more questions and more ideas, do join our courses for success. Thank you very much.